Last night, y'all, Donald Trump lashed out at a New York Attorney General, Letitia James, over the fraud trial currently playing out. Then posted a link to her home address, despite already being under a gag order in the case. Trump was in court on Tuesday for the continuation of his fraud trial, during which he took the occasional opportunity to rant to reporters about the case and about the gag order that was imposed by federal district judge Tanya Chutkan. And in another case on Monday, that's on top of the already narrow gag order that another judge, that's Judge Arthur Engoron, placed on the fraud case. Big Wise, what do you think about Trump and how he's gonna get himself in a lot of trouble as it pertains to posting someone's gag order, especially when he already knows that his followers will take that information of this person's address and run up to her house and probably try to do harm?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like this is the only tactic that he knows. All he knows how to do is lash out, gag order or not. I think Donald Trump has demonstrated over and over and over again that he doesn't care about the rule of law. He doesn't care about an injunction. He doesn't care about whatever. No court is he afraid of. Every single time they put charges on this guy, or every single time, another investigation arises, he's been pretty defiant about it. And that's the posture that he takes. So I don't think we could be surprised at this point. At no point has Donald Trump done anything but be defiant in the face of, allegations and charges against him. And this is no order. I think the extra step of posting the address of this prosecutor, I think is, just another level of heinous on his part. But, luckily, man, prosecutors, they get to keep a gat. She's gonna have a security detail. And I think her and her family, they'll manage to be safe from this. Luckily, she's not some random civilian who would just be at the mercy of Donald Trump and his rabid supporters.
And you're right about that. And I think you're right about the point that nothing will stop Donald Trump. And speaking of nothing stopping him, think about the Trump, like he continued his attacks into the night, including one of these posts on his true social media posts. And that it included, like we said, a link. Check this out now, Awaz. It had a link to a smear piece by white nationalist Laura Loomer. And everybody that don't know, if you don't know who Laura Loomer is, you should definitely dig into that because she's a doozy. But here's what Donald Trump actually tweeted on his, not tweet, he truthed it on his Truth Social. Her fake case, talking about Letitia James, her fake case against me should be dropped immediately. My financial statements are extremely conservative, and her numbers were way off, of course, including the fact that she undervalued Mar-a-Lago and Doral by billions of dollars. She also didn't reveal the 100% disclaimer clause at the front of the financial statement and sued me under a statute that was never used before. Miscarriage of justice and election interference all wrapped up in one. Listen, can we just be honest that everything against Donald Trump is election engineering or interference, and also everything about him is perfect? This $1 billion number is actually the number that has him in court right now. There is no $1 billion property that belongs to Donald Trump, and he keeps saying this. I would hate to be his lawyer, Wise. What about you, man?
Yeah, I think what Donald Trump is trying to get away with is this idea that, like, who can say what the actual value assigned to his property is, right? And I think the truth of the matter was going to be a little bit harder for the prosecution, is that Donald Trump probably could come out and say, look, I could sell this to some Saudis tomorrow for $1 billion. I bet you. All of the connections that he made while in office in order to enrich himself, I wouldn't be surprised if he could deploy those connections in ways that would be able to, if not exonerate him, sort of pacify the prosecution in a way that they couldn't come all the way down on him, right? And that's the tricky thing about value and properties and, capitalism in general. A lot of this stuff is made up and fake anyway. And Donald Trump is like, how are you trying to assign a true value to something that I still own? And thereby I still get to invent what the actual value of it is. So I think with the valuation thing, he has a little bit more credence than one would expect, especially since he still owns it. Because you can say, I think this is worth X, Y, and Z. This is the only way I would ever sell this because it's worth this, while not having any actual suitors.
Yeah, I think the problem though is Donald Trump himself and his organization, right? It's not just that he values it at $1 billion. He chooses to devalue it when it benefits him.
Yes.
So I think that's what's gonna hurt Donald Trump, right? It ain't just that he valued it at $1 billion. That's on when he's trying to get money from banks and other organizations. It's when it's time to pay taxes that he said, well, it's only worth 27 billion. And I think those were 27 million, and those are his words himself. So that's going to be the problem. And I think as it pertains to him violating gag orders, we can go back to what Judge Engoron, his gag order prohibit Trump already from attacking the court staff. Now, this is going to be the tricky part. Do we consider Attorney General Letitia James a part of the court staff? And I think that is what's going to make it tricky for us to determine, has he already violated this gag order? Which, I mean, if this isn't it, Trump, like you said, we know Trump, nothing's going to stop him. And he's probably going to fundraise off the idea that they lock him up or find him in violation of gag orders, even when they're spelled out. I think what's funny to me, though, is the willingness of Republicans in general to sit with Trump when they claim they are the party of law and order, as he single-handedly dismantled every level of justice in this country. So, I mean, imagine someone Black coming at the Justice Department, coming at FBI agents, coming at court officials in this manner, or doxing an elected official in this manner. It wouldn't even be this way. And Waz, like I said, you and I, Black men, we wouldn't dare show up in court and do this to judges or the attorney generals.
I mean, this goes without saying. I don't, and it's not even just as a Black man. I think even somebody who's a prominent Black man, a rich Black man, this behavior would not be allowed to stand. That's just obvious. But I think that's what Trump has done largely. And now, as far as the Republicans are concerned, these people, they're not going to relinquish power. They see that Trump is the only person in the party with any kind of juice with actual voters. He's the only person in the party who actually has a large constituency, a quite loyal constituency. And they know the second that they go against that, that's essentially career suicide. And these politicians, we've seen it. And unfortunately, on both sides of the aisle, these people let go of power through their dead gray hands, oftentimes literally, in the case of Dianne Feinstein. It's just not something that we see these guys do. Relinquishing power, influence, and control is not what they've been willing to do. I think if there was a Republican Party that actually cared about honor or integrity, they would basically, branch themselves off from Donald Trump and start from scratch. But they know that would put them out of power completely. And so the idea that they would, go out and do that would just never be the case. So things like, again, honor, integrity, morality, principles, that just goes out the window every single time.
Yeah, but I think it's the thing that baffles me as a politician, not just an elected official, but someone who has spent 20 plus years working on 163 campaigns, is Donald Trump is a losing strategy outside of the Republican primary. I think that's the problem, that closed primary system, and also the drawing of these districts, the gerrymandering of these districts, have ramifications where Republicans can't speak truth. Even those who want to be conservative can't show up in that manner unless they're honoring Donald Trump, which in actuality is anti-conservative in a lot of ways, i.e. his massive tax cut that didn't do anything except for expand the deficit of this country, larger than any before the Bush one, right? So I think you're right, where Donald Trump has a stronghold on the Republican Party, but it doesn't just hurt the Republican Party, it hurts this entire country, because we are a two-party system. When one of them is not functioning properly, when one of them shows up in this manner, we are left stuck.
You're obviously completely right, but the only way I would stray from what you said is that it would assume that these guys are interested in governing. As the second these people leave office, they walk into very cushy jobs. So if you become a Republican in a really safe district, and all you got to do up there is do the bidding of capital and these special interests, it's the second you leave office, you are going to get paid. And that's a motivating factor as any.
Yeah, and I mean, and just not to drag on the story, you made a great point. And you don't even have to leave office, right? We know right now think about this the temporary Speaker of the House. This brother came in, he's Republican, came in, worth nothing more than his house, representing the 10th district in North Carolina. And now he's one of the richest people in Congress. And this is what happens. And I don't understand how you can make a certain amount from the federal government that does not make you rich, but you can take all this money. You can keep taking. This is a broken system.